George Clooney and Brad Pitt have teamed up once again in the new Apple TV movie, Wolves. Both actors are absolutely brilliant, so I've been raring to go to watch this and super excited. From watching the trailer, I was definitely expecting to see action, mystery, definitely comedy, all blended in together, which the movie delivers upon. So my friends, have George and Brad been successful in their latest movie of Wolves? And do we have a blockbuster, 50-50 or flopbuster on our hands? Wolves dives into the world of organised crime, where alliances and betrayals are the name of the game. Clooney and Pitt are back together, but this time they're playing a much deadlier game. The movie kicks off with Clooney and Pitt's characters being drawn into a high-stakes underworld as seasoned criminals with a complicated history. They team up for one last score, but as they get deeper, they realise that they're not the only predators out there. With shifting loyalties and hidden agendas, it's a fight to survive in a world where trust is the most dangerous currency. The core conflict centres around Clooney and Pitt's tense partnership. As old grudges and fresh dangers surface, they're surrounded by rivals and allies who could turn on them at any moment, creating a constant state of suspense. The two characters are forced to navigate these treacherous waters, trying to figure out who they can really trust. It's a thrilling dive into themes of loyalty, survival, and betrayal. If you're into intense crime thrillers, then Wolves should be right up your alley. It's got that classic Clooney-Pitt charisma with a darker, edgier tone to it. It offers a thrilling look into the criminal underworld, with two Hollywood legends leading the charge. We're getting roughly an hour and 50 minutes in length with this movie. Generally, it's a good length of movie, but I definitely think that they could have made this longer, especially given the ending. The plot and storyline for the movie kicks things off right from the start. Wolves really does grip you with an intense and suspenseful murder mystery. It's Clooney's seasoned criminal meets Pitt's younger, equally sharp counterpart. These two lone wolves, who usually work solo, are now caught into a web of secrets, forcing them to work together, but it's anything but smooth sailing. Every step of the way, they're hit with twists and obstacles, making their mission not only difficult, but unexpectedly hilarious. There's a scene where Clooney and Pitt are chasing down the kid, but Clooney ends up hitting him with his car. Once that impact is made, everything goes in slow motion, and everyone's reaction is priceless. Once the dust settles, Pitt starts sniggering, and it's unexpectedly funny. This moment really shows the quirky dynamic between the two. Clooney's serious, while Pitt adds a playful vibe, making the scene memorable. The twist here is that instead of catching the kid, Clooney accidentally hits him with his car. If anything were to happen to the kid at this stage, it would cause even more complications for their already complicated mission. This adds to reminding us that these two don't exactly have everything under control. After the initial shock, this standstill between the three of them, as they come to the realization and acknowledgement that everyone is okay, Pitt follows with a sudden laughter to diffuse the tension. Shortly after, the kid, who is completely drugged up, continues to make his attempt to outmaneuver George and Brad. Pitt's laughter after the accident gives a light-hearted feel, mixing suspense and comedy in a way that keeps you hooked. When it comes to my critiques of Wolves, the pacing can seem quite slow, and it takes a while for the story to start actually making sense. Characters are introduced very quickly without much background. You don't get enough time to connect with them, which makes it hard to stay invested in their journey. Now, this is certainly fine to do, but the outcome of bridging this self-inflicted gap is closed too late within the movie. For example, there's a scene where Clooney and Pitt meet for the first time, and instead of diving into their backstory, they jump straight into the mission. And that's also with no character relationship development, and it's made too easy for their decision to come together and unite, especially when they are such lone wolves. Now, this left me feeling like I get what's going on, murder mystery type vibe. We're going to get brought into the understanding of things as they progress, but you start to question the realism around the two coming together, and it does leave some questions which sort of puts you on the back foot, and then you're almost trying to play catch up. Though the movie does start to piece things together as you move towards the end, it does take quite a while to get there. The humour is there, but it doesn't quite hit the mark. I was expecting it to be even funnier than it actually was. For me, it was just a case that the trailer really brought the promise to life, setting the level of expectation around the humor and the comedy to be like next level. But on delivery, I don't fully feel that the movie delivered on that promise. Now, the movie stars George Clooney as Margaret's man. We don't actually get his name, and neither do we get the next star, Brad Pitt, as Pam's man. And last but not least, Austin Abrams as the kid. Now, when it comes to the standout performances and character development in this movie, I do like what the movie initially sets out to do, but I do find it a bit of a risky game with these types of movies because it runs the risk of leaving a sense of being unfulfilled. I think it was good given the fact that it was a tense, suspenseful murder mystery, but we don't get the clarity until the very end. And even then, we don't know who George or Brad's character names are. Now, my top picks for the standout ones to watch are George and Brad. George Clooney's character is the definition of cool, calm and collected. He's definitely got that lone wolf vibe going for him, navigating a world that's dramatically changed around him. Now, he may be old, but his experience is what makes him stand out in a job that has only gotten tougher over time. There's this great moment where we really see his age and experience come through. He's talking to Brad about how much the world's changed. It's clear that he's seen it all, and he carries this wisdom that the younger characters don't quite have. But despite his experience, he's faced with a new challenge, working with Brad Pitt's character, who represents a different generation and approach. The real struggle is letting go of his lone wolf mentality and figuring out how to collaborate. By the end, he actually warms up to Brad, and we see this shift in him. He's no longer just a lone wolf. He's ready to embrace having a partner, and he even starts to see the value in it. Watching George go from Mr. Solo and lone wolf to someone that's actually open to teamwork was actually quite a good arc. It's satisfying to see him embrace the change, and it gives the story a sense of growth. Clooney's performance really sells that transformation, bringing depth and a touch of vulnerability to his character. Brad Pitt's character brings a youthful energy and charm to the story. He's not just a cool, calm figure. He also showcases a more humane side, which balances out the serious tone to the film quite nicely. His character really embodies the evolution from being a lone wolf to someone that really values and appreciates connection. There's a moment where Brad Pitt interacts with George Clooney's character, revealing his more vulnerable side. Despite his cool demeanour, he shows a genuine curiosity and respect for George's experience. This adds a layer of depth to his character, making him relatable and compelling. The main challenge he faces is reconciling his independent approach with the need to work alongside someone like George. He grapples with figuring out how to balance his instinct to go it alone with the realisation that collaboration might lead to a better outcome. By the end of the movie, there's a noticeable shift in their dynamic. Brad starts to not only like George, but he also seems to look up to him. This transition shows his growth from a self-reliant figure to someone who values partnership and mentorship. His journey from going to a lone wolf, again, similar to George Clooney, they're both lone wolves, to someone who actually embraces teamwork and mentorship, adds a heartfelt touch to the story. Brad Pitt really captures this transformation beautifully, making it an enjoyable character arc to follow. Now, this is really difficult, but also sort of a no-brainer. I've decided that both George and Brad are going to be the chosen ones to watch out of the ones to watch. The relationship between George Clooney and Brad Pitt in Wolves is all about two lone wolves learning to work together. Clooney's character is wise and calm, while Pitt's character brings the youthful energy, making their dynamic intriguing and entertaining. A key moment happens when they face a tough job together. Their different styles lead to funny and meaningful interactions, as Clooney's curious approach clashes with Pitt's impulsive nature. The main challenge is their struggle to trust each other. Clooney prefers working alone, while Pitt wants to be seen as an equal partner, which causes tension. As the story goes on, they start to understand each other's strengths. Clooney learns that having a partner can help, and Pitt realises the value of Clooney's experience. Their journey is one of the best things about this movie. Watching their relationship grow from doubt to respect is heartwarming and actually adds depth to the story, making them my favourite characters in this movie. I mean, in all fairness, the story is completely centred around them and there isn't really anyone else in it apart from the kid, but the kid isn't as great as those two, and I wasn't going to call out one of them over the other because I couldn't decide. When it comes to the visual and cinematography, I thought Wolves did a pretty incredible job with creating creating something very stylish that stood out, that also created a tense atmosphere and tone. The use of neon lights throughout the film adds a modern-day edgy feel to it, fitting perfectly with the tone of a contemporary hitman story. A standout visual moment for me was when George Clooney's character, dressed in all black with a leather jacket of course, stands against a backdrop of a vibrant neon set of lights. This contrast really highlights his cool demeanour about his character in the midst of all the chaos. One visually memorable scene features an overhead shot of Clooney and Pitt talking in a coffee shop. The slow motion shot amplifies the tension as they navigate the danger, making you as the viewer feel the weight of the moment. The varied camera angles, like when they're on their knees and lying in the booth, keep the action dynamic and engaging. The visuals and cinematography heighten the film's tension, especially during intense moments when the characters are under fire. The neon lights create an unsettling backdrop, while the clever camera angles draw the audience into their precarious situations, emphasizing the emotional stakes. In key moments, the cinematography resolves tension beautifully. For instance, when the characters finally team up and execute a plan, the camera pulls back to show their surroundings, giving a sense of victory and relief. The visuals help to encapsulate the transformation in their relationship. For me, the visual and cinematography is absolutely brilliant in Wolves. Now, I'm not saying that from a cinematography standpoint that they're introducing anything that's absolutely groundbreaking, but it marries up well with the story. The visuals, the thing for me was the neon lights. I absolutely loved them, and I think they really, really stand out in the posters, the cover art, the trailer, and even threaded throughout the movie. When it comes to the music and soundtrack, it really, really did support the movie, adding to its mysterious vibe and enhancing the emotional impact of key moments within the film. It boosts the scenes that create the suspense that pulls you into the story. For example, during tense moments, the score builds up excitement, while subtle sounds like echoes from the city make the experience feel real. The music and soundtrack really pulls you in, making the movie more engaging and hooking you in even further. It adds depth to the character's journey and reflects the film's themes of isolation and connection, leaving a lasting impression. When it comes to the entertainment value of Wolves, George Clooney and Brad Pitt elevate this movie, making it more enjoyable than it might have been without their performances. Compared to movies like Ocean 11 and The Departed, Wolves has its own unique blend of humour and drama. While it may not have the same level of fast-paced fun, the chemistry between Clooney and Pitt brings a charm that keeps you watching even if the movie could use a little bit more depth. I would say that the biggest challenge that this movie faces is the pacing, but also bringing viewers in a little bit earlier within the movie so that they can then start to connect with the characters a little bit more, which would add that layer of depth. At times, the movie does feel a little bit slow, especially as it builds towards the climax. While the humour lands in some scenes, it might not be enough to sustain interest throughout, leading to moments where you could be questioning your attention span as it wavers. Overall, Wolves does leave you feeling entertained, and that's thanks to the dynamic duo of Clooney and Pitt. However, the movie's lack of depth towards the climax might leave some viewers wanting more. While it does have its strengths, it also does have some missed opportunities that really could have made it even better. I give Wolves a 3 out of 5 buckets, meaning it's a binge-watching 50-50. So here's the question. If you've watched the movie, who's your favourite character? I literally couldn't and still can't decide between George Clooney or Brad Pitt, and it's purely on the basis that they both offer something different. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, don't forget to smash a like if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and follow us on social media to stay up to date with the latest content. If you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more. I'm Matthew, this is Binge Watcher. Thanks for binging with me.